Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Now, for the last couple of weeks I've been lucky enough to be riding this, the brand new for 2020 BMW S1000XR. And in this video, I'm going to tell you all the things I've learnt about the bike in that time. So if you're interested in the S1000XR, stick around and stay tuned, this video's for you. So one of the great things about being a motorcycle YouTuber is that some of the more, should we say, enlightened manufacturers, BMW being one, are happy to lend us bikes from their press fleet for extended review. And that means you can get a much better feel for a bike than you would get if you just went for, say, a 1 hour test ride. So what I'm going to do in this review is give you all the lessons I've learnt about this bike in the couple of weeks that I've been riding it. It's going to be a sort of a warts and all review. Not just the good things about the bike, but the bad as well. The sorts of things that you may not pick up, as I say, if you just jumped on and did a brief test ride at the dealer. Alright, without further ado, let's crack on with the lessons I've learnt then. Okay, so I said this is going to be a warts and all account of the bike, so let's start off with the negative points I've learnt. Okay, so as ever, I've written down these negative points so I don't forget anything, and here they are in no particular order. So first thing I've put here is there's vibration at certain speed and rev combinations. Now annoyingly, it seems to be around about 70 miles an hour, the sort of speed you might cruise on the motorway, and here's a clip of me on the dual carriageway talking about the vibrations I noticed. Right, there we go, 70 miles an hour, look, 4,500 RPM in 6th gear, and there is a little bit of that vibration through the seat still. I don't think it's enough to... well, I don't know, it might annoy me actually, because it depends what speed you end up doing on the motorway, but if you're cruising all day long at 70 and that's tingling away, that could be annoying. I really hope BMW would have fixed that on this iteration of the bike, but it seems like it's still there. It's only there at that point though. As soon as you wind her up a bit, look, 78 and it's all gone now, it's smooth as you like. So in summary, the vibes aren't as bad as on the previous S1000XR, but they are still there, so you need to decide whether that's going to be an annoyance for you or not. Okay, next thing here, I said that or I've written down here, the bike always sounds angry. Why do you sound so angry all the time? So it's certainly not a relaxing ride. This is one of those bikes that always eggs you on. Now that for you may be a good thing, but for me, you know, I like a bike that if I'm going to tour on it, it's going to be a little bit more relaxed. So that was another thing I noted. Next up, short side stand. Really difficult to get off the side stand on this. Here's a little clip of me doing so. It's a right old lump to lift off. Although it's not particularly a heavy bike, it carries its weight relatively high up compared to other bikes that I know and love. And with that combined with the short side stand, I just found it was a real heavy lump to lift off the side stand. No matter whether I was getting out of the garage or moving it around a car park, whatever, it was always an effort to shift this bike around, more so than I personally could live with. Next up, hard seat. In fact, there's almost no seat on this thing. I don't know what BMW were thinking here. I think this is the standard seat. There's virtually no padding on it at all. It really is a hard seat. It's not uncomfortable, but it's just hard when your bum's on it for a while. Next up, I've written here, almost too perfect, lack of character. Now, although it's got that vibration I talked about, it's a typically Germanic bike is how I would describe it. Everything about the bike just works. It's almost a little bit too perfect. And for me, it was just lacking that little bit of character. So that was another point. Next thing, and this is a really small point, I'm clutching at straws here, no rear light. It's got those combined indicator affairs where when you switch the bike on, both the indicators come on and that acts as your rear light. I've got a feeling this might be something to do with American regulations. I'm not sure, but I'm not too keen on that. Very minor point, but I thought I'd point that out because I don't think anyone else, any other review I've seen, have talked about that. Next up, and this is a little bit more important, at low speed, and I'm talking really low speed, sort of walking pace, I just find the throttle isn't quite right. The fueling at slow speed is a little bit like riding a pneumatic drill. That's overplayed, it's not that bad, but the fueling isn't quite right, I find, on the bike at very slow speed, or if you're in traffic or whatever. It just feels a little bit burbly, and I don't like that about the bike. Alright, that's it for the negatives. No one likes a whinger. Let's move on to the positive points. Okay, so the positive points then. First thing I've noted here on my magic list are that the handling is light and agile. The bike is definitely more suited to sporty riders than it is leisure touring type riders, even though it's sort of a sport tourer. This bike really is more at the sporty end of sport tourer, I would say. One thing this bike really does well is its handling. You can absolutely chuck it about. For a big heavy bike, the thing absolutely flies. I love that about the bike. Next up, and this is something that's common with a lot of BMWs, I absolutely love the sat-nav integration, by which I mean the fact that it has this whiz wheel here. I think this thing absolutely is a great way to control the sat-nav. It is just so much easier than using a joystick like you do on some other bikes, or indeed using a separate sat-nav unit. You can do everything you need to do without taking your hands off the screen, and that is or taking your hands, sorry, off of the handlebars. That is a big plus for me. I love that about the bike. Okay, next up, gearbox and quick shifter. It is absolutely amazing on this. I don't know if it's because it's a four-cylinder bike and I'm used to riding my GS, which is the big Boxer twin, but the gearbox on here is absolutely beautiful, and the quick shifter is super smooth, so that's a really great point. Just makes it a joy to ride. Lots of people say, well, why do you need a quick shifter on a road bike? Well, try one and you'll find out. It just makes it a joy to ride. Again, if you're riding the bike in a sporty manner on the road, then that's when the quick shifter really comes in. It works at low speeds as well as high, changing down the box as well as up. It's a joy to use. Okay, next up, luggage on this bike. Here we go. Luckily this bike was supplied with the luggage for me, so I've got the side panniers and the top box, and it's they work really nicely. And what I really like about it is these side panniers, you can actually get a helmet in. So I went touring or out for a day's riding with Mrs. Fly, and we could get a helmet in each and our bits and bobs in the top box on the back. So the although the top box actually isn't very good, the rest of it, the luggage works pretty well. Okay, next up on my positive points about the BMW S1000XR, and this really is compared to the old bike, is that the acceleration and performance of the bike I find is just that much better on the new 2020 machine. The old bike had amazing performance, but you had to really wind it up to appreciate it. This bike, they've done some retuning of it, much better mid-range. It's a much more usable bike on the road now, so I really like that. Next thing I noted, looks of the bike. I think, again, over the last, the old version of the bike, the looks of the bike now are hugely improved. I just love this front end now, the fact that it's symmetrical. I think it looks a beast. I absolutely love that. There is quite a lot of plastic on it, but I actually like the way that the whole thing kind of flows into one now. I think they've done a nice job on the design of the bike. It's a good looking bike for a sport tourer, I think. Okay, next up, comprehensive electronics suite is what I noted here. Again, BMWs, these sort of top-end BMWs these days come with absolutely everything you need. It's so adjustable on here. There's all sorts of things that you can change on this bike. I would show you on the TFT now, but unfortunately she needs some fuel, and it's showing that I need to get to the fuel station, so I won't show you that at the moment. But take it from me, there's every bit of electronics you could possibly want, and loads more besides, and it's all highly configurable on here as well. It's just an amazing electronics suite if that's your thing. And then last but not least, this bike just makes you feel good, and that has got to be one of the most important things, hasn't it? So for all its foibles that I've pointed out today, and maybe this bike isn't for me, but whenever I've ridden it, I have got off it with a grin on my face. The bike absolutely makes you feel like a god, and that's a great plus point on the machine. So on these bike reviews, people often ask me, what's it like to ride the bike as a passenger? Well, I can't answer that, of course, because I'm riding it, but I have just been out with Mrs. Fly for a ride on the bike, so let's ask her how she found it. So, Cal, the XR then, what do you think of it?
Overall, I thought the bike was very smooth, particularly around town, lower speeds. For me, a bit of vibration through the passenger seat, accelerating up to higher speeds, going up steep hills and things like that. The seat is very firm. When I got on it initially, I thought, don't like this. But actually around town it was fine. But a long tour, I think I would find that too hard for me. Thank you very much. Foot peg position was absolutely fine. Getting on and off, it's a bit higher than other bikes. I'm not very tall, so again you have to think about that, and the rider has to think about balancing the bike, just so you can actually get on and off the thing.
Backrest? Backrest,
because the angle of this top box here, I prefer. I didn't feel quite as secure as other top boxes, which just seemed to come a bit higher at my back, but that's personal preference.
And what about the hand grips?
Hand grips were a bit faffy to find. I felt like I was flapping around by the top side panniers and getting my hands out. I'd get used to it.
Okay, so you've ridden quite a few bikes on the back now.
Yeah.
Mentioning no names, but if we were going to give this a score out of 10, what would you give this?
Probably a 7.
Okay, or another way of putting it is, would you say this is one of the better bikes you've been on, or one of your lesser favourites, put it that way?
Well, you're always comparing different things. I think for me, thinking long-term tour would be least favourite because of the vibration, and I don't know if we mentioned the wind speed when we were on the motorway.
Yep.
Not only my head was vibrating, but all my shoulders as well. I couldn't turn my head.
Okay.
It would have been very uncomfortable, and I'd have ended up with my shoulders up here by the end of the day.
All right, there we have it. Can't argue with that. Okay, so there we have it. That's all the things I've learned about the BMW S1000XR in the couple of weeks and the few hundred miles that I've had it. Really enjoyed having the bike. So thank you very much indeed to BMW UK for lending me the machine. Hope you found that of some interest. Oh, and by the way, I'll stick a link below in the description to that garage door security barrier you saw at the start of the video. Whenever I show that on one of my videos, I have people asking, oh, what's that amazing barrier thing you've got on your garage? It looks good. So I have made a video about that. I'll stick a link in the corner as well to that. But as I say, details in the description below, together with a discount code as well. So do check that out if you're interested in making your garage a bit more secure. Alright, that's it for now. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Missenden Flyer. Cheerio. So one of the great things about being a motorcycle YouTuber is that some of the more enlightened, shall we say, manufacturers, and BMW are one. Right, horses, let's just slow right down. So one of the great things about being a motorcycle YouTuber is that some of the more enlightened manufacturers, BMW being one. Oh, let's do it in the speed limit, let's do that again. Alright, so the XR then, Mrs. Flyer. Let's face it, it's Carol. Let's do that again. So there we have
Bike, very sorry. Bike, very smooth overall, except then...
We'll do it again.